Learning a language is like opening a door to a new world. It's not just about vocabulary or grammar. It's about stepping into another culture, seeing life from a fresh perspective, and connecting with people in ways we couldn't before. Each new word we learn, each phrase we practice, carries with it the power to bridge distances, break down barriers, and create understanding. There's a deep joy and discovery when learning a language. At first, every word feels unfamiliar, every sound strange. But as we practice, repetition becomes familiarity, and familiarity becomes comfort. Suddenly, we can express thoughts, ask questions, and understand responses. The excitement of realizing I can actually communicate is a feeling that never truly fades. Languages connect us to people. A simple greeting in someone's native tongue can spark smiles, open conversations, and even friendships. The effort itself communicates respect and interest, often more than perfect pronunciation or flawless grammar. Human beings respond to sincerity, and learning a language is one of the most direct ways to show curiosity about someone else's world. Learning a language also teaches patience and perseverance. Progress rarely comes overnight. There are moments of frustration when a word slips our mind, when pronunciation feels impossible, or when meaning doesn't quite match what we intended. But each mistake is part of the journey. Mistakes are not failures. They are proof of engagement and growth. Beyond communication, learning a language is a journey of self-discovery. When we think in a new language, we notice how we frame ideas, how culture shapes expression, and how our mind adapts. We begin to see our own language differently, appreciating its nuances while embracing new ways of thinking and expressing ourselves. There's a unique thrill in understanding a song, a movie, or a joke in another language for the first time. That moment of recognition, of truly getting it, feels like a secret unlocked, a key turned, a new layer of meaning revealed. It's evidence of progress and proof that immersion, attention, and curiosity have tangible rewards. Learning a language is also about connection with culture. Each phrase carries history, values, and social context. A greeting, an idiom, or even a slang term reflects how people live, think, and feel. When we understand these, we're not just speaking words, we're entering a world shaped by stories, traditions, and experiences. The cognitive benefits of learning languages are profound. Our brains become more flexible, better at multitasking, and more adept at problem solving. We notice patterns, pick up subtleties, and improve memory. Language learning is exercise for the mind, sharpening both creativity and analytical thinking, while also opening doors to empathy and understanding. There is a social dimension to language learning that is both exciting and rewarding. Language allows us to participate in communities, whether online, locally, or abroad. Through conversation, collaboration, and exchange, we feel part of something larger than ourselves. Language becomes a bridge not only between individuals, but between cultures, generations, and ideas. Sometimes the joy of learning a language is simply in the sound of it. Pronunciation, rhythm, melody, languages carry music in their speech. Listening carefully, imitating tones, and feeling the flow of sentences is like learning a new kind of song. There's beauty in repetition, in practicing sounds that feel unfamiliar yet delightful. Travel and language often go hand in hand. Knowing even a few words can transform a journey abroad. Directions are easier, menus become understandable, and locals respond warmly to the effort. Language learning turns travel into exploration on a deeper level, allowing us to notice subtleties that would otherwise be missed. Learning a language also challenges assumptions. We realize that the world is more diverse than we imagined, that different cultures have different ways of seeing, thinking, and expressing. These insights expand perspective, making us more open-minded and empathetic, not only toward others, but toward ourselves. Technology has made language learning more accessible than ever. Apps, videos, podcasts, and online communities allow us to practice anytime, anywhere. But technology cannot replace human connection. Speaking with real people, hearing live conversation, and participating in cultural exchange are irreplaceable parts of the journey. There's a satisfying rhythm to language learning. Daily practice, repeated phrases, and gradual improvement create a sense of progress that is both motivating and rewarding. Even small achievements, a correct sentence, understood joke, or answered question feel like milestones, each adding up to mastery over time. Learning a language encourages curiosity. We begin to ask questions not just about words, but about culture, history, and human behavior. Why do people phrase things a certain way? What do idioms reveal about values? How does language shape thought? Curiosity fuels learning, and learning fuels curiosity, creating a positive, reinforcing cycle. Language learning is also deeply personal. Some of us love memorizing vocabulary, others thrive in conversation, and some find joy in writing or reading. Each path is valid, and each journey is unique. The way we engage with the language reveals not just the culture we are learning, but who we are as learners, thinkers, and communicators. Stories are powerful in language learning. Reading books, listening to podcasts, or watching films allows us to absorb not just words, but context, tone, and emotion. Stories provide a narrative framework that makes vocabulary and grammar meaningful, helping words come alive instead of remaining abstract. Language has the power to connect generations. Learning the language of our ancestors or preserving endangered languages is a way to maintain cultural continuity and honor heritage. Language becomes a link to identity, history, and shared memory. Even when progress feels slow, the act of learning itself is rewarding. Each day of practice, each sentence constructed, each conversation attempted is evidence of dedication and growth. Language learning teaches us that effort matters and that persistence produces tangible, meaningful results. Humor is a delight in language learning. Understanding jokes, wordplay, or puns in a new language feels like unlocking a secret code. Humor reminds us that language is alive, playful, and human. It's a celebration of creativity, cleverness, and cultural nuance. Language also deepens empathy. Speaking another person's language allows us to hear not just words, but emotion, emphasis, and intention. We begin to understand experiences and perspectives different from our own. Empathy grows not from grammar alone, but from the connection that words can create. The challenge of language is part of its appeal. Difficulty encourages problem-solving, experimentation, and perseverance. Overcoming challenges produces satisfaction, confidence, and pride. Language learning is a journey of small victories that accumulate into significant achievement. Music, film, and media in another language are gateways to understanding culture. Lyrics, dialogue, and storytelling convey values, humor, and emotion. Engaging with media enhances comprehension while providing context, immersion, and joy. Languages evolve constantly. Learning keeps us aware of how communication adapts, how slang changes, and how meaning shifts over time. This dynamism makes language learning exciting, never stagnant, and endlessly engaging. Sometimes, the act of speaking a new language connects us to places we may never visit. Imagining conversations, practicing phrases, or hearing the cadence of speech transports us, creating a sense of travel, adventure, and cultural immersion without leaving home. Language learning reminds us of patience and persistence in all areas of life. Progress is gradual, improvement cumulative, and mastery achievable through dedication. The lessons extend beyond language, shaping mindset, resilience, and lifelong learning habits. At its heart, language learning is about connection. Whether with individuals, cultures, or ideas, it bridges gaps, fosters understanding, and creates shared space for communication. Each word learned is a step toward empathy, understanding, and a richer, more connected life. Learning a language often begins with curiosity. That first spark might come from a song, a movie, a book, or even a conversation with a friend. That curiosity motivates us to explore, to experiment, and to persist, transforming a simple interest into a deep and ongoing journey. Every new word learned is a small victory. At first, words may feel foreign and fragile, slipping from memory almost as quickly as they are learned. Yet repetition, practice, and context help them take root, turning confusion into comprehension and hesitation into confidence. Pronunciation can be both challenging and rewarding. Mastering unfamiliar sounds, accents, or intonations takes patience. But the moment a word flows naturally off the tongue is a kind of magic, a tangible sign of progress and connection. Grammar, while sometimes intimidating, becomes a framework that helps us communicate clearly. Understanding sentence structure, tenses, and syntax allows us to express thoughts with accuracy and nuance. Over time, what once felt rigid and complex becomes second nature. Learning a language invites exploration beyond words. Idioms, metaphors, and expressions offer glimpses into a culture's history, humor, and worldview. Each phrase carries layers of meaning, revealing the personality of a language and the society it belongs to. Communication is more than vocabulary. Body language, tone, and context are essential. We learn to read gestures, expressions, and pauses, understanding the rhythm and emotion behind words. This deeper awareness enhances empathy and connection. Mistakes are essential to growth. Mispronouncing a word, using the wrong tense, or misunderstanding a phrase is not failure. It is evidence of engagement and learning. Embracing errors with curiosity and humor turns challenges into opportunities. Language learning fosters resilience. Progress may be slow and setbacks inevitable, but persistence pays off. Each day of practice builds skill, confidence, and a sense of achievement that extends far beyond the classroom or study session. There is a profound satisfaction in comprehension. Understanding a conversation, reading a book, or following a movie in another language brings joy, validation, and motivation. That moment of recognition, when meaning clicks, is a reward that drives continued learning. Learning a language opens doors to culture. Beyond grammar and vocabulary, we begin to understand traditions, values, and ways of thinking. We see how people interact, celebrate, and communicate, gaining insight into lives different from our own. Connection is at the heart of language learning. Speaking with locals, practicing with peers, or exchanging messages online creates bonds. Words become bridges, linking hearts and minds across borders and fostering mutual understanding. Travel becomes richer with language. Even a few phrases allow interaction that is warmer, deeper, and more authentic. Ordering food, asking for directions, or striking up conversation transforms a trip from sightseeing into immersion. Solo practice develops independence and self-reliance. Navigating new expressions, seeking resources, and constructing sentences alone builds confidence and skill. The ability to communicate independently in another language is empowering. Learning with others adds joy and motivation. Sharing experiences, practicing together, and celebrating small victories fosters community. Collaborative learning transforms what can be solitary into something social and inspiring. Reading in another language provides insight and immersion. Books, articles, and poetry expose us to vocabulary, style, and cultural context. Through reading, we absorb nuances that help us think and feel in a new linguistic space. Writing reinforces learning. Composing sentences, notes, or stories in a new language strengthens memory, grammar, and expression. Writing transforms passive knowledge into active skill, solidifying understanding and fluency. Listening is a form of learning in itself. Podcasts, music, conversations, and media help us attune to rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation. Active listening enhances comprehension and prepares us for real-life communication. Watching films and shows immerses us in context. Humor, gestures, and tone provide cues that make meaning accessible. Subtitles, repetition, and active engagement turn entertainment into learning without losing enjoyment. Language learning teaches patience. Fluency rarely comes quickly, and progress is often gradual. Recognizing and celebrating small achievements keeps motivation alive and reminds us that mastery is a journey, not a destination. Confidence grows with practice. Each successful conversation, each understood phrase, each correctly expressed idea builds assurance. Confidence encourages further risk-taking, leading to deeper connection and accelerated learning. Empathy emerges naturally. Understanding another language allows insight into experiences, feelings, and perspectives. Speaking someone else's language is a form of respect, signaling attention, care, and willingness to engage. Cultural nuance becomes clear through language. Idioms, humor, and references often reflect shared history, social norms, or values. Understanding these subtleties deepens appreciation and avoids miscommunication. Memory is sharpened by language learning. Retaining vocabulary, recalling grammar rules, and recognizing structures strengthen cognitive skills. The mental exercise enhances focus, attention, and adaptability. Language learning invites playfulness. Word games, rhymes, jokes, and puns make practice enjoyable. Play transforms effort into fun, creating a positive, rewarding learning environment. Challenges cultivate creativity. Expressing ideas without complete fluency encourages alternative phrasing, gestures, or metaphorical language. Problem-solving and communication sparks ingenuity and flexibility. Technology supports exploration. Apps, courses, and online resources provide structured learning, practice, and feedback. Yet real human interaction remains essential for authentic communication and cultural immersion. Language shapes thought. Thinking in another language alters perception, expression, and reasoning. This cognitive flexibility enriches understanding and expands mental horizons. Motivation comes from progress. Small wins, successful conversations, and understood media reinforce engagement. The sense of moving forward sustains energy and fosters long-term commitment. Exposure to diversity grows tolerance. Learning languages exposes us to differing worldviews, social norms, and values. Encountering diversity through language fosters openness and understanding. Travel immersion strengthens comprehension. Participating in local life, observing behaviors, and practicing speech enhance vocabulary, fluency, and confidence. Immersion accelerates learning while creating meaningful experiences. Language learning nurtures curiosity. Questions arise naturally. Why this expression? How do people say this? What cultural meaning lies beneath words? Curiosity fuels continued exploration and engagement. Storytelling aids retention. Narratives, anecdotes, and personal experiences help anchor vocabulary and concepts in memory. Stories make learning memorable, meaningful, and emotionally engaging. Learning encourages adaptability. Language evolves, communication varies, and meaning shifts. Adapting to these changes builds flexibility and responsiveness, skills valuable beyond language itself. Cultural immersion cultivates insight. Festivals, rituals, and daily interactions reveal values, priorities, and worldviews. Immersion turns knowledge into lived experience, deepening understanding. Language learning develops awareness. Attention to pronunciation, context, and nuance heightens sensitivity and perception. This mindfulness carries over into other areas of life, enhancing observation and empathy. Fluency brings liberation. Communicating without struggle enables deeper engagement, spontaneity, and freedom. The ability to express oneself fully in another language unlocks opportunity, creativity, and joy. Persistence becomes a habit. Daily practice, repetition, and reinforcement turn effort into routine, transforming learning into sustainable growth. Habits build fluency and maintain momentum. Connection is the ultimate reward. Each word, phrase, and conversation bridges gaps, fosters understanding, and builds relationships. Language is not just a skill, it is a path to empathy, belonging, and shared humanity. Learning a language is a journey that extends far beyond memorizing words or mastering grammar. It is an exploration of thought, culture, and human connection, an adventure that challenges us to step outside familiar boundaries and see the world through a different lens. Each phrase we learn is a doorway into another person's experience, a bridge that allows us to approach life from new perspectives, and an invitation to engage with ideas, emotions, and customs that may differ greatly from our own. The process itself, with its ups and downs, moments of clarity and moments of confusion, becomes a mirror reflecting not only the language we are learning, but also the nature of our own minds, our resilience, and our capacity for curiosity. Every conversation in a new language carries its own microcosm of adventure. When we greet someone, ask a question, or share a simple story, we are not just exchanging words, we are creating connections. Each interaction is a test of our memory, our courage, and our ability to interpret nuance. Even the smallest misunderstandings can become opportunities for laughter, learning, and growth, reminding us that language is alive, evolving, and deeply human. The thrill of being understood, of understanding another person, produces a profound sense of joy that can transform even ordinary moments into meaningful experiences. The act of listening is transformative in language learning. Paying attention to pronunciation, intonation, and cadence allows us to hear the subtle music of speech, to notice rhythms and patterns we may have never considered before. Listening is not passive. It is an active form of engagement that teaches patience and focus. Through attentive listening, we begin to perceive the culture behind the words, the emotion behind the sounds, and the personality behind each speaker. This process is both humbling and empowering, as it demands awareness and rewards effort with insight and connection. Reading in a new language opens doors to worlds previously inaccessible. Books, articles, and poems provide not just vocabulary and grammar practice, but also windows into thought patterns, social norms, and historical contexts. Through reading, we encounter voices from different times and places, learning to navigate the subtle layers of meaning embedded in text. Stories allow us to inhabit other minds, to experience emotion, humor, and thought from a perspective we could not have accessed otherwise. Every sentence absorbed is an invitation to broaden our understanding of both language and humanity. Writing reinforces comprehension and creativity. Crafting sentences, essays, or journal entries challenges us to organize thoughts, select words deliberately, and express meaning clearly. Writing is an act of creation as much as it is of communication, requiring imagination, memory, and analysis. In this process, we find ourselves experimenting with expression, discovering new ways to convey ideas, and learning to appreciate both the elegance and complexity of language. Writing transforms passive knowledge into active skill, deepening our engagement and investment in the learning journey. Mistakes are inevitable, but they're also essential to growth. Mispronunciations, forgotten words, or grammatical errors are not failures. They are proof of engagement. They signal that we are stretching ourselves, stepping beyond comfort zones, and attempting meaningful communication. Embracing these moments with humor and reflection turns frustration into opportunity. Each correction, each repetition, each aha moment builds confidence, reinforcing the lesson that effort and persistence are at the heart of mastery. Cultural immersion amplifies language learning. Experiencing a language in context through conversation, media, music, or local customs provides depth that textbooks cannot replicate. Immersion allows us to observe behavior, understand subtleties, and absorb meaning in ways that are intuitive and memorable. When we participate in traditions, attend celebrations, or simply listen to everyday conversation, we are not just learning words. We are internalizing culture, history, and human behavior. Immersion transforms language learning from an intellectual exercise into a lived experience. Language shapes thought in profound ways. As we acquire new vocabulary and grammatical structures, we begin to perceive the world differently. Certain ideas become easier to express, different concepts gain nuance, and alternative ways of framing experience become accessible. Learning a language is therefore not just about communication. It is about expanding cognition, developing flexibility, and cultivating the ability to see problems, emotions, and relationships from multiple angles. It changes how we think, feel, and engage with the world. Every new phrase learned carries a story. Idioms, proverbs, and colloquialisms encapsulate centuries of history, culture, and social interaction. Understanding them requires more than translation. It demands cultural insight, empathy, and context. These expressions reveal humor, wisdom, and the values of a people, giving learners access to the subtleties of communication that go far beyond literal meaning. Engaging with these elements deepens our connection to the language and provides a sense of intimacy with the culture behind it. The rhythm of language itself is mesmerizing. Beyond words, there is cadence, stress, and intonation. Listening and reproducing these patterns transforms communication into an almost musical experience. Mastering rhythm in speech enhances understanding and expression, making interaction smoother and more natural. It reminds us that language is not just information. It is art, movement, and emotion, intricately intertwined in ways that enrich our daily experience. Learning a language also strengthens cognitive abilities. Retaining vocabulary, recalling grammar rules, and analyzing sentence structure exercises memory, attention, and problem-solving. Multitasking in translation and interpretation builds mental agility, while pattern recognition enhances analytical skills. These cognitive benefits extend beyond language learning, improving mental flexibility and resilience in other areas of life. Language is a vehicle for empathy. Speaking another person's language allows us to approach their perspective with understanding and respect. It provides a bridge into their emotional world, helping us interpret meaning, tone, and intention more accurately. Empathy emerges not merely from translation, but from the effort to connect, to listen, and to engage authentically. Through language, we learn to inhabit another mind, if only briefly, and to appreciate experiences different from our own. Humor and play are vital in language learning. Wordplay, jokes, and puns present challenges that are both difficult and delightful. Understanding humor in a foreign tongue requires not just comprehension, but cultural insight. The laughter that follows success in grasping a joke reinforces motivation, fosters joy, and creates memorable learning experiences. Humor reminds us that language is dynamic, creative, and fundamentally human. Travel transforms learning into lived experience. Even a few phrases allow engagement with locals that is warm, authentic, and memorable. Asking directions, ordering a meal, or making conversation transforms the unfamiliar into something accessible and human. Travel provides immediate feedback, contextual learning, and a sense of accomplishment that is difficult to replicate in a classroom. It turns language learning into exploration, adventure, and connection simultaneously. Motivation is both internal and external. Small successes, a sentence understood, a question answered, a story comprehended reinforce commitment. Motivation also grows from curiosity, connection, and the desire to participate meaningfully in another culture. Each success, however minor, fuels continued effort, establishing a cycle of practice, achievement, and inspiration. Language learning is a lifelong journey. There is no endpoint. There is only continuous growth, discovery, and refinement. Mastery may be asymptotic, always approached but never fully complete. Yet this endless horizon is part of the appeal. It keeps the mind engaged, curiosity alive, and communication evolving. The pursuit itself becomes a rewarding experience. Collaboration enhances learning. Practicing with peers, engaging in conversation, or participating in language communities provides feedback, encouragement, and diversity of experience. Collaboration brings accountability and social reinforcement, while also allowing exposure to multiple accents, dialects, and expressions that enrich understanding. Interaction transforms solitary practice into shared adventure. Immersion teaches subtlety. Beyond literal meaning, we learn tone, implication, and emotional weight. Understanding how words are used in context sharpens judgment and sensitivity. Subtlety is where fluency emerges. It is the ability to navigate complexity gracefully, to communicate not just accurately but appropriately, with cultural intelligence. Persistence is essential. Regular practice, repetition, and reinforcement gradually solidify skills. The cumulative effect of consistent effort produces mastery over time. Patience, resilience, and discipline are as important as intellect, turning incremental gains into long-term capability. The ultimate reward of learning a language is connection. Every word spoken, every phrase understood, every conversation held is a bridge between individuals, cultures, and worlds. Language learning transforms isolation into participation, misunderstanding into comprehension, and curiosity into engagement. It is not merely a skill, but a pathway to empathy, understanding, and human connection that enriches life immeasurably.